Hello and welcome to another one of some conversations with actually neurodivergent adults who are probably not yet famous and who are just down home, regular, everyday people like myself, who really want to elevate the experience for everyone who's curious about what this whole hot topic is and what it's like, and also want to give a chance to encourage and speak to the folks who are in this path of discovery for themselves or someone they care about, and just kind of trying to parse out the real information from the hype. So, hi, I'm Jenine Lillian. I'm a neurodiversity consultant and educator. I also happen to be autistic and dyslexic, but didn't know till I was 51. And in addition to all that fun stuff about me, I'm a librarian, artist, and a writer. And I've just recently started my business and really want to get the words of the people to the people. So that's what this is about. And we're going to have some fun stuff. In a moment, I'm going to welcome my guest, Sarah, who I'm so excited is here today. And Sarah challenged me to speak about my hobbies and special interests. So big bird nerd, self-declared, self-taught. And also, I actually really love washing dishes by hand. I know. Everybody's like, oh, come to my house. No, I don't want to wash your dishes. I enjoy washing my dishes. It's part of meal prep, which I also geek out about and really enjoy. I basically turn a lot of things into ritual and routine because, well, I'm autistic, and also it's very soothing to me. So I'm sure that nobody's ever going to pick that. So over to Sarah. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Sarah. I go by they, she. My hobby, special interest that I'm really enjoying right now is knitting. I got,
Ooh,
yeah, it's very exciting. I started crocheting last year. My friend taught me over FaceTime, and then
nice. Oh,
yeah, and
wow.
then yeah, it was super fun and like a nice way to connect with a friend, who is not around
That is
distance
awesome.
wise. So yeah, but I just knitted my first project, and it was a pair of socks.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh, you started on socks?
I know I just followed a YouTube.
Dang.
I followed a YouTube video and it worked out really well. So I'm very excited about that. It's what it's like often just in the back of my mind. So I bring
Yes.
and socks are nice because they're small and you can kind of take them with you. And I do them in little breaks and meetings and things. And
Wow,
yeah.
I bow down to you for the complexity of your project. I used to knit a lot and I never did socks because intimidated. But wow, I just love that you just went for it, and that's awesome. And yes, it's totally portable and it's also so soothing, especially when you're stuck in a really long meeting.
Yeah.
I knit all the way through grad school. So you go, and I can't wait to see what you're working on. And don't be afraid to do something really simple too, like scarves or
Yeah.
something in garter
Yeah.
stitch.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got a few things and like go back to crochet too and do a couple
oh,
of smaller
nice.
projects, but it's
I
I
want you to teach me how to crochet over Zoom. So
I can do that. It's
thank you
it's
so
easier than
much. I'm
me
going to do a
knitting in my
neurodivergent craft group at some point. I can just feel it
I would
coming.
love that. Yeah. Count me in. I
Awesome.
will, yeah. Count me in.
Yay. So Sarah, I know that you and I have collaborated on some projects to reach some post-secondary neurodivergent students, and I just wanted to ask you as we get going today, if you might share a bit about your recent journey, because I think that what you're going through and what you've just been through is very much what people are asking me to deliver information about, and I think that going to the source is so much more fruitful. So how did you end up kind of getting curious about your mind and then taking next steps, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a few years of a process of like that self-discovery piece and just thinking a little bit more critically, I guess, about how my brain works and like how I'm able to show up in the world. And um, so I think it really started with realizing that a lot of the people that I surrounded myself were neurodiverse.
Yeah.
Many had ADHD, um, or were kind of on their own journey with that. So I think that was kind of clue one that I was like, okay, I'm most of my friends have ADHD. Like,
Yep.
what's happening here? And then yeah, I did like come from a very academic background, so I did a lot of research and looked at many things, and there's so much information that's coming available right now, and I think just general awareness. So that was really helpful. And yeah, just kind of made me, especially thinking about my experience going through, my undergrad and my master's, and the start of my PhD that I didn't finish, but
There
it
you go.
was
You're right on time.
yeah. So yeah, I think just like reflecting on those experiences, and then I was living in Ontario until a couple of years ago, and I had looked into it there, and it was very, very expensive there. I don't know if that's changed since, but anyway, I moved to BC. It's slightly more accessible here financially to get a diagnosis. And then, honestly, like big shout out to my partner, because he also just went through the process of getting diagnosed right before me. And I think that also was like, it allowed me to see what the process looked like, kind of like exactly what it looked like. And I heard his whole experience, and it was like, okay, like I can do
Oh,
this. It's okay. So yeah, I'm really grateful that he kind of took that
wow.
step, because I don't know if I necessarily would have been quite as like on board and eager to like get at it.
Yeah.
So that was really nice to have him kind of set that example for me. And then I ended up going through a service online. It was West Coast ADHD in Vancouver, and they offer like virtual
Awesome.
diagnosis. So yeah, that was kind of my whole process of
Wow.
start to finish, I guess.
And you have this, I mean, okay, so first of all, let me back up. Thank you. Um,
Yeah, sorry, that was
um,
all of it at once.
no, I love it. I love it. That's us, right? Just like
Yeah.
here it is. It's fantastic. It's like the best cake ever. So thank you. That's perfect. You're doing great. A couple things for folks joining us. So we live in a rural area, and it's much easier now that Zoom has become like doing this and doing assessments via Zoom. And I find I find such comfort in using Zoom, and I find a lot of people usually who aren't super neurodivergent, they have a lot of resistance. But for I feel like it was a great good gift of the pandemic that like, oh, finally now we can each be in our controlled environment with our kittens
Yeah.
and, have the lights off or down and have no smells or have the smell you want and not the one you don't, the
Yeah.
background noise and the distractions and just all of it, right? It's like a funnel of focus, and I just love it so much. So yes, 100%. I think that you can do an assessment on Zoom and get accurate read. And I did my autism assessment on Zoom, and boy, what a gift, because we're like 9 hours away from Vancouver, and
Yeah.
money and money and time and money
Yeah.
um, and energy, right?
Yeah.
So, and then also special shout out to said partner, because wow, talk about having like body doubling and emotional support and blowing off steam and just
Yeah.
big love. And like, for him too, going through the process to have you to kind of share that with and be like, oh, that sucked, or that was awesome, or that
Yeah.
was easier than I thought it would be, or I'm glad I did this, even though it took all my energy for the next 4 days, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then to have that, you know, the support of friends, and of course, we're always curating our experience and our reality, and that's true for everyone, but especially the neurodivergent folks. We collect neurodivergent folks, and
Yeah.
so I'm not surprised at all to hear that your partnerhood is neurodivergent. And I also love that regardless of sort of the same diagnosis, that I'm sure you each have different things.
Oh
And
gosh, yeah.
yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah.
there's such diversity, and that's the one thing that people don't realize is that from person to person, it's never the same. Oh man, I would love to do like the ADHD power couple and talk to you guys about. I mean, just like let's go get a pint and do this in person since we're an hour away. But how wonderful is that to have that ability and that understanding, and that you can both not have to keep explaining yourself. You now can just say it's that,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, it doesn't like excuse, if you said something you didn't mean to say, or, we're grumpy, whatever. But like, it's just, I find it so helpful. I can't tell you how many times a week now I say, like, I'm autistic. Can you email me that? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and I couldn't say that before. So it just came across as bossy. And
Yeah.
like, I don't, yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
I think, yeah, it's given us kind of like a shared experience, shared language to just like, I think we're understanding ourselves so much better now too,
Yeah.
that we can more like easily share where we're at and like what we're going through and
Yeah.
like in our own individual brains, and then it's so much easier to figure that out together, right? So
I'm
yeah.
so excited for both of you and Joey. One day I will find my neurodivergent me. But that's just so great. And I love how you said too, like that, without, first of all, without the move to this different place, and maybe the supports and encouragement and swimming around in these waters, in your day at work, right? Like you
Yeah.
do, and like it's getting your attention for a while, right? And this is common. It was common for me as well. You start to hear these certain words, or somebody you care about says like, "Hey, I think that might be a thing," and then you're like, "Is this a thing? Is
Yeah.
this my thing? What is this thing?" But then, that for so much of us, and this is true for any kind of risk taking or you know, big step that, without that, I need more information. I need from a trusted source, I need information.
Yeah.
Like, it's great that he went first, right? And that you were there. It wasn't like he went first and then you met and then told you about it, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think, like
Yeah.
you said, you may well, without all these different factors, you may well have not, sort of crossed the line. And then that you did it and it wasn't awful. And now you've got this result. And I find that having the information then helps me make a plan. And, I take action. I'm very, I would say, somewhat obsessed with agency in my own mind, and my anxiety and depression, especially the anxiety, pushes me along to sort of take that next step. And so having the information is vital to me to not feel like I'm stuck or,
Yeah.
down. I'm curious about sort of now that you went through that, which you described, what is it like now? Like, are you trying on different things and going like, wow, that's really supportive for me, or that's not really helping that much, I'm gonna try something else? Like, what's happening lately?
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely just I think going through my day to day with a little bit more awareness now and kindness also. Like I think there was yeah, like I, faced certain struggles going through my education. And one of the other things too was, I've basically been a student up until the past couple years.
Mm.
I'm 30 now, almost 31. So I, I did my undergrad, I did my master's,
Mhm.
I did my started my PhD during the pandemic, which is why I
Oh,
didn't finish. But yeah, so I think this kind of past couple years was the first time that I was, going to a job and doing
yeah.
the that thing. So when I started my most recent position, it was, the nice thing about grad school is it was a bit flexible and it was structured. So, you could have those days where you did nothing and then days where you did a ton of stuff. And I think going into kind of a more traditional workspace, that was really hard. And I didn't necessarily have that level of flexibility. So
Yeah.
um, I what did you ask? I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I love how Crackers is just sort of like
Yeah,
lingering. Hi,
he's
Crackers.
yeah.
We want Stilton to come join.
Um,
No, that's perfect because the academic container, like everything, I see it as like a container, and so the academic world, it has a very rigorous pace and it has deliverables and structure, but it also has routine and sort of a scope of what could happen, right? And
yeah,
so there's this support of the container. And I'm certain that you had a lot of challenge and shift when you went from, say, high school to post-secondary, but
yes.
you figured this out, right? You
Yeah,
you figured out how to make it work for you, and then staying in that container made it more consistent. So I can see how like shifting out of the container to, I'm not going to call it, it's not the real world, it's a world.
yeah,
Um,
I agree.
shifting from the academic container to the providing academic services container is
Yeah,
is a whole different game, like you say. And so
yeah,
I'm not surprised to hear that like you had some pain points, but also a lot of opportunities, right?
yeah. And yeah, and I think now that kind of I'm in a different space and have this knowledge about my brain, like I'm just kind of going through and like one thing that's come up a lot, I think, is like the way that I hold my body. Like I think before I was very like, I would sit down all day and be at my desk and be like, kind of have that focus of being a student or working and doing that thing. And now I'm like, I think I'm just learning to be relaxed and comfortable and like recognize when I need to get up and stretch a little bit and like clear my mind or just like go for a walk, go outside and take a break. Because I think being in school for so long, it was like there was always something to work on. I always had papers and assignments and things, and it was that kind of background talk of like, hey, you need to sit down and do this thing. Whereas
Yeah.
now it's a little bit easier for me to recognize like, okay, like you can step away and that's actually really beneficial and
It
take that
is.
space.
Oh, it is. And this is so
Yeah.
wonderful. And it's great because since I've only just sort of recently met you, to me, you always seem really fluid and like joyful. And I just love that. It is this unmasking, right? And this
Yeah.
letting ourselves be ourselves. And I mean, we are all living whole and complete lives, and we are all in a body, and this embodiment requires that we move around and we nourish ourselves and hydrate ourselves, and
Yeah.
that we step away. Like I feel like we persist because we rest, and if we don't have the self-care, especially for the neurodivergent folks, it just all crumbles underneath us. And
Yeah.
there is this rigidity that comes from schooling and from we're trained like sit down, sit still, and
Yeah.
focus. And if you
Yeah.
don't sit down and sit still, it means you're not focused. And I hate that because, like, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm standing up and I move around a lot. And I was
Yeah.
just speaking to someone yesterday about how it's interesting to me that I watched a webinar that I gave a couple weeks ago, because I recorded, do like continuous improvement. And then I watched another one I had done at the very beginning. And I move around so much. I'm just like, wow, I'm all over the place. Like, um, and I don't really like, I notice it because people call it out to me, but I kind of don't notice it like I used to. And I just love, that like I just want everybody to be able to get to the point where they can be more and more their authentic selves. Because when we can do that for ourselves, we do it for other people, and we
Yeah.
stop policing this, like, well, you look different or you're behaving differently, and I just love that you're so like brand new into this like language and landscape, and I'm just so inspired by you because you're like finding all the stuff that's a relief and a gladness like right away. And
Yeah.
I think that's so amazing. And a lot of people are very daunted by the process and the funds and all that. And I just think it's important that folks hear this other side of like it can be so, and it often is so profoundly game changing. You're like, oh my
Totally.
gosh, I can't
Yeah.
believe I didn't have this. Like, for
Yeah.
me too, like I went through all like my life, right? And and didn't have the support. And now it's like, oh gosh, I'm also dyslexic. That's neat. I guess that explains why I'm a librarian who doesn't enjoy reading. So, like
I would do
audiobooks are the
it.
best. Um, but I just think that's so great, and I can't wait to hear from you and watch you sort of expand into this more, right? And like find the ways, like I feel like it's all just a buffet in front of us, and
Yeah.
find the things that work for you and check the things that don't. And this for me, this goes for like I don't watch the news. It only hurts me. I can't hang out with people whose favorite thing to do is rant and complain. It only hurts me. And I can't eat like fried food. Same. So like
Yeah.
just and you can't find those things out until you start noticing and like connecting, like, okay, I ate this and then I felt like this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a similar thing, like I took in this information, or I spent time in this environment, or I did this thing. Like I often push myself out the door to try new experiences, and then I sort of come home and do a little debrief, like, yeah, okay, it was worth it, and I met this person and I tried that, and I might do that again, or like, yeah, okay, I did it, and no, I don't need to.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think for me, yeah, it's given me a lot of space to yeah, really just understand my own needs better and set boundaries around those.
Oh,
And not push past those, and just be aware that like, yes, I can make this decision, and that decision is actually going to make me feel better and make me be
yes.
able to show up the way that I like to show up. So
That's amazing. You're awesome. I could watch this show all day long, Sarah. You're so incredible. I think so. Boundaries are so important, and it took me a very long time to get more comfortable with them. I struggled so hard with saying no.
Yeah.
I think especially women were conditioned to be accommodating and to grin and bear it, and I hate that. Didn't really know there was another way, and but then it felt awful to say no because there's all this stuff, right? And I wasn't the
Yeah.
best friend in my mind, and you alluded to that earlier. There's just this heavy inner critic, and that voice didn't come from me originally, but boy, it sounds like me now. And
Yeah.
so so I used to make it like I had to do sort of an us them, which is not my normal mode of thinking and being. But I had to do a bit of an us them to get out of this compulsive saying yes all the time and
Hmm.
really depleting myself in doing that. And so I did this thing with the help of a counselor where I told myself, okay, when somebody's offering me, extra work or extra this or whatever it is, right? Um, then I can either say yes to them and no to me, or no to them and yes to me.
Right.
And like that sounds terrible, but I actually had to structure it this way for like a year, 2 years, so that I could start to practice this different, very weak muscle. And now it's funny because now I'm like, I don't know, 15, 20 years after that. And now I look for opportunities to say no because
Right.
like it just makes me so happy. Because I recognize that it's like you're saying, you discover yourself more and then you get to allow yourself, but that also gives you this very strong source of strength and knowing. And it's like you're standing there going, okay, I'm going to respond instead of react. And that's
Yeah.
why I say, like, I think it's so vital for each person to discover and become their authentic self because we have a lot less conflict internally and externally.
Yeah.
But I love boundaries. Boundaries are so good. And that sounds really weird to a lot of people, but I know you know what I'm saying. Like it's to me, I feel that saying no is often the most loving thing that I can say or that someone
100%.
can say to me. Um, and I just want like more, especially since I know I'm autistic now, like I just want cleaner and clearer communication. Like
Yeah.
it like no means no, maybe means no, and yes is the only thing that means yes. Like
Yeah.
and I just like to me that's a relief. That's a like I can kind of lay back in that and go, oh yeah, okay, I'm supported. But
Yeah.
it's a very different, I'm not normal in this sense, well, any sense, I think, and that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite boundary that you've found so far? Like, is there something that you just love to opt out of?
I think I've been very aware of kind of my social battery recently. Um, and yeah, I think just getting comfortable with saying no, like I don't have to
Mhm.
be a part of every social thing to be,
Yes.
included and um it was I think my move here too was also helpful in that because I didn't
Yeah.
know anyone. So
Well, there you go.
it was like kind of a nice little reset to be like, okay, yeah, I have so
Yeah.
many things that I love to do at home. I can stay home every
Yes.
single day and never be bored and be super happy and content. And that was like a good little reminder because I think kind of in my previous living
Mm.
situation, it was a very like um I worked I was serving and I was working in a bar and like it was very
Oh, wow.
social and then going to school and all these things, so it was like often a lot of output,
Mhm.
which I think in certain settings I'm really comfortable with and
Yeah.
like happy to do, and it gives me energy. But then I think, yeah, just calibrating a little bit more of like what feels really good, what might take
Mhm.
a little bit more energy but is still worth it, and
Right.
yeah, like what is just fine if I miss. So I think that's been really helpful in just um say like keeping my own space and like doing
Yeah.
things that make me happy on my own, and then also um yeah, just better working within my own energy levels,
Hmm.
and then when I say no, then it means that I can say yes to something later that I really
Yes.
want to do. So
Yes. And
um
and like, and to me, I think it ties absolutely into not just like cultivating our special interests and our downtime and our alone time and that recharging, because we're all introverts, but nobody believes me, but I am. And I am. And I totally get you with the like I have plenty of things that I enjoy about being at home by myself.
yeah.
Now that I finally am a better friend in my own mind, I enjoy being by myself, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what drives folks is like you sit down and then all this stuff just comes to you and it's not always great. And then you're like, well, I'm going to go do something else and distract myself from this because who wants that? No one
Yeah.
wants that. But the other thing is, I love how you said, like, you can say yes to something or say no to something. Like all of it is it's just a choice. It doesn't mean like people shouldn't take it personally, although that's a tricky one I had to get over too.
Yeah.
And I still, but I also love way, way earlier, like 100 days ago, when you said that, you're curating like all your friends and stuff. Like this is exactly part and parcel of the how you spend your time is that we meet somebody and we go, oh, I want this person near me, right? Like you're my
Yeah.
people, like, and then I want this person like in my community but not necessarily in my house, right? And there's a lot of this is one of the strengths of being neurodivergent, I think, is that we think and process in different ways. However, there is this kind of this goes here and this goes here, and I
Yeah.
like these things and these things are hard, but I do them, and these things let's just never do. And like I'm never going to Shambhala. Like that's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
favorite Jomo of the region. So for those of you who don't know, there's a big music festival and it's outside and it's hot and it's dusty and it's crowded and there's lots of drugs, and I don't do any of those things. So
Yeah.
if it
Yeah.
was like outside and there were 5 people and it was really quiet and it was raining, sign me up. Nobody wants to go to my festival. I think I would really like a silent dance party like that. I've decided
Yeah.
that's my vibe. But anyway, so I think it's so important for us to have these conversations and to share it with our friends and random strangers to say like these are the things that I think are fun. People say like, oh, this is so fun, and I go, God, that doesn't sound fun to me. Right?
Yeah.
Or these things are really delicious. Yeah. Um, and I think this is part of how we become more and more aware of ourselves and make better and better choices that actually feed us and all,
Yeah.
nourish us in all the ways. And then also we help other people around us, right? Like you said earlier, like your partnership, I think is such a beautiful expression of that, you get to be very, very different and very, very the same. And then
Yeah.
all the stuff that has the crossover. Ugh,
Yeah.
I'm so happy now. I'm like, I'm gonna have such a great day. I think we could talk for hours and hours, and I would love to talk to you further. But for now, I'm going to close this out. I just want to ask you if you have any words of encouragement for folks who might identify with what you've shared today, or if you have next steps you'd like to see folks take after they have this time with us.
Yeah. I think, I mean, for next steps, I think everyone's on their own journey, and um, I don't necessarily think a formal diagnosis is necessary and, worth it for anyone. So I think just, yeah, taking the time to really think about, how you feel, what you want out of moving forward, and kind of go from there. Um, Same, like if you get a diagnosis, and like there's pathways for medication, there's other pathways and ways to go about things. So I think it's just really doing that introspection and honoring where you're at and what you need. And then, yeah, I think just talking about it is really important, and having conversations with people, and letting someone know, like, hey, this is how I go about things, and this is how
Yeah,
I kind of live my life. I think it's sometimes hard for us to externalize those internal patterns.
it is.
But I think the more you do it, and the more you can practice it with people that you trust, I think it's really freeing.
Yeah,
And that's been a really big part of, yeah, kind of coming into my own comfort,
it is.
and just moving through the world without over analyzing every little thing that I'm doing.
Not
And
every
just,
little thing, just every other.
yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
be clear. It's not like
Yeah.
it stops, right?
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's really lovely. And I have a few trusted sources in my circle of care, and it is this really funny kind of like character development. It's almost like we're talking about a play or a film or a book, and I'm like, what else can you do? And
Yeah.
then you're like, what can you do? Well, I do this. What do you do? And like, how do you deal with this tricky situation? Or what do you really love about this thing? Like
Yeah.
whatever it is, just it is so joyous, and to have it be so very opposite and felt in the body as a positive versus when people call out these things that we do that
Yeah,
are different, you know, weird. And so like I have, I'm sure you're finding this too. There is this sort of celebration of like, I love how weird you are,
totally.
I
Yeah.
love how different you are. I can't imagine you being any different
Yeah.
than the different than you are, right? And I
Yeah.
just want to learn more about that. And it just feels so good. It's like, oh gosh, you finally get me, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to explain so much.
Yeah, and I think it's just a way of honoring like our deep beautiful selves. I think all of us are, really complicated and have all different interests,
Yes.
and there's everyone is different, and having someone that you can talk to and like get into the weird stuff, like
Yes.
that's super fun, and really just a way to, yeah, see each other in a way that I think is really important and really special. So
I can't say it any better. I'm not going to say anything else except thank you so much, Sarah, for being so super vulnerable and clear and just lovely with us today. And who knows who's going to see this, and who knows if this will be the thing that helps somebody cross the line into like, yeah, I think I want someone what they're talking about, and especially in this time where neurodiversity equals a lot of adversity, which has always been true. But
yeah.
I just want to encourage folks to reach out to me. I'll put some notes in the session notes on YouTube, and please feel free to email me. I am a dual citizen of the US and Canada. And so, if you're in another country, I can go anywhere Zoom can go. And there's a lot of free stuff on my website, and I'm making more free on demand content like this. So thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me in this Stuff and Things series with actually neurodivergent adults. And as you can see, we have a lot of heart, and we really want to have each person feel supported and encouraged in their journey. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.